Thank you all for coming, and it seemed best to celebrate Swamiji's birthday with Swamiji, and I just will add a few thoughts, but really it's so helpful to talk about Swamiji and to hear about Swamiji perhaps, but again it's most effective to hear from Swamiji, because then you have your own experience, your own impression, and this is really what discipleship is about. Even in the Level 3 Part 1 book, Level 3 Part 1 class, we have the book on discipleship, Handbook of Discipleship, and each person has to read the book themselves, and they do. I still can't, just Bindu and Baba were here yesterday, and this is my favorite story of Level 3 Part 1. They, in order to take the discipleship vow, for those of you who know, you do know, if those of you who don't know, you have to read the book and you have to say, I have read the book. And so, partly it's because what if everything seems fine and then on the last page there's something shocking? You know, you've got to make sure you've covered it all so that you know what you're getting into and know if it's something that you want. And so, the night before the discipleship, on a Saturday night, Bindu and Babu were each reading the book very, very furiously, trying to finish it in time. And their children came in and saw them both reading and said, "Very good." You could feel the deep sense of, I don't know if it was satisfaction or revenge or something. And then the next morning they said, "Good luck with your exam." And so it really is that we have to have our own impression. We have to take it inside ourselves. And this is something Swamiji said too about, for example, discipleship, also Kriya. And I think he might have referred to it in this talk, though I'm not sure. That we have to grasp and understand these things from inside. He said that once when teaching something, that, look, I can explain it to you, but really it's something only understood from inside. I'll do my best, but you have to tune into the truth of this. You have to tune into it yourself and grasp it again from the inside. In another context, Swamiji had been told by Master, "You have a great work to do." And Master said that several times. And someone asked Swamiji, someone at Ananda, "Did you ask Master to explain a little more?" "Sir, when you say, I have a great work to do, you have a few more details or care to elaborate? A great work? How great?" And Swamiji said, I didn't ask him. I don't know if he said it in this context, but he said, I felt that if he wanted to say more, he would say more. He said, I tried to tune in inwardly and grasp his meaning from the inside. So no, I didn't feel to ask him. He said, you got more from him that way. Isn't that nice? Isn't it surprising? Because it's the same motivation. Can we get a little more? And he was saying, yes, you can, but you don't do it by asking more questions and getting more details and having it all spelled out. And Master said that in another context, that he loved it when he could just communicate with the eyes. Just a look was enough of an understanding, enough to have an understanding, but a real understanding. We can't just assume that with a look we have all understood. We share a look. Yes, isn't this great? Yes, isn't this terrible? I know. We can't always assume that the unspoken is an agreement, but in the case of attunement, guru and disciple, harmoniously you can. And or at least that's what we're working towards. I just wanted to express my gratitude for Swamiji. I hope that's something that you share in the sense that you've been grateful because you've been helped. I don't mean you should be grateful. I mean that you would feel grateful naturally if you feel you've been helped. it's easier in a way, perhaps, to relate to Swamiji now, all these years later, especially here in Chennai, where we wouldn't be if he hadn't said there should be a center here. But so we have that sort of personal connection, whether we met him or not, that, we're sitting on carpet that wouldn't exist without Swamiji, in a place that wouldn't exist without Swamiji, very literally. And as I think you all know, this was the last center that he founded during his lifetime. So he has continued his life on earth, I should say. He's continued to found centers afterwards. But he was, in fact, his Agastya reading had said, whatever place on earth your foot touches, from that soil will spring up an ashram. It was a very sweet thing to say. But one thing about Swamiji that was so helpful, and there were many things, but one thing, especially when I first came on the path, because I needed it so much, was just clarification about what we're doing. We read Autobiography of a Yogi, and we get so much of Master's path, his teachings. The teaching of Kriya Yoga is at least not given in the book, but certainly hinted at in the book, explained in the book, though not taught, if you understand what I mean. And for Swamiji, though, to then go beyond that and say, this is what it was like to be with Master. These are the things that Master said to his disciples. Master said a lot of things to his disciples that he didn't put in his book. One thing he didn't put in his book was that all those saints he visited when he was young, he came to them asking questions and wanting understanding, and they instead asked him questions. And they wanted understanding from him. They called him, he said, Choto Mahashai, which means little sir, he says. It means more than little sir, as you know. And so, how many people do you know? Yes, sir, yes, Mahashai? How many people do we call Mahashai? How many times have you been called Mahashai? For me, it's exactly 0. And that's right. And so, the feeling then that to round out all of Master's teaching, here's another way to put it, that we understand Sri Yukteswar, we feel, because we have Master's presentation of him. Master could present him in the way that, as a disciple, and say things about Sri Yukteswar that Sri Yukteswar might not say. You read the Holy Science, and that's something, and applause to you if you can get through it. And then you have, and you heard Swamiji talk about that, and then also you have Swamiji not only writing about Master, which is very important to reach so many, but also speaking about Master. And speaking, as he began this talk, with our mission, our purpose, talking about going back to Babaji and Christ, Babaji and Sri Yukteswar, just as we say now in these mornings when we have our readings from the 2 scriptures, that this goes back to that. And Swamiji said that this is where it all started. So in that way, we see we're just carrying on what the Masters have given. We're just sharing in the way that they have started. We're not doing our own thing. We're not doing only Swami Kriyanandaji's thing. We're not doing only Master's thing. It's a whole line of development. And maybe, who knows, just as 100 years ago or more, 150 years ago, that balcony in Benares now looks so small with those 15 people at Lahiri Mahashai's home. So who knows, some people might come here and say, oh my God, this tiny little temple? Ridiculous. Some people feel that about the temple downstairs. It's sort of like, can we have our yoga posture class downstairs? Oh, there's not enough room. It's like, well, how many people are going to be in the class? Oh, 7. But, kind of need space around you. It's sort of like, do you know how that temple used to be huge for us? And especially compared to what we had before in Alwarpet, it was vast. And now it's just, the small temple. Sort of, that small temple used to be the big temple. So, but again, it's not that we're looking for quantity. It's not that we're looking for vast numbers and so on, without quality. And really, as Master said, I prefer a soul to a crowd, and I love crowds of souls. but also Swamiji would always keep us expanding. That's another thing he did. He never let us rest. He never said, oh, this is fine, this is big enough. As he said, why don't we think of having 1 million members? And in another context he said, I chose that number because it's just too beyond anybody's imagination, too beyond our ability to make it small. It was a challenge. It was an inspiration. It was funny. He in fact had this sense. Said initially we should have sort of not a committee, but we need to have someone campaigning for these 1 million members. And I think the right person for it is Dayaji. So that was one of her jobs at that time, was to be the 1 million member person. So it was really wonderful. I say that because so many of you know her, and so this was, of course, many years ago. And also, why did Swamiji push this expansion? Because he wanted everyone to know Master's name. In fact, he said that at one point, that he came to India to help Master's name become better known in the country of his birth. That was one of the missions of coming to India. But even how he came to India is an interesting story. He felt the time was right. I can't go into it now because it'll take us beyond our time, but perhaps another time. He felt the time was right. He felt Master was asking him to come. There's a whole sort of story of how that happened, but it came from outside. And then he took that as an understanding to try, because he'd always felt, is there a work to be done in India? And but why have Master's name known? Just so he can sort of have, Master's party being registered, like political party, so it gets the most votes, or so for him to say, Paramahansa Yogananda, and also me, and we could also say, and also us, that his glory somehow reflects on us also. None of that. To help Master's name and teachings be known so that they can help people. That's what he said. That's what it's all for. There are so many people who could be helped, so many people who could want help, and if they knew where to find it. There's other places to be helped also. It's not that this is the only way to be helped, but why keep it all to ourselves? That's why he was always expanding, saying we need more, because if he had said this is enough, how would that feel if it was the day before you came? And that's when we said enough, when we, how the day before I came, the day before any of us came, and tomorrow someone else may come, who is just as in need of help as we are, and can be just as helped. So that's what these teachings were sent for. They were sent to be consumed. Otherwise, we have this sort of great box of medicine that we just sit on like a chair instead of dispensing it. It's not the greatest image, but don't just dispense medicine. Pushkala you can, but other people, unless you're a physician. but the thing is that Swamiji also, though, his sense of humor and how natural he was. I wanted to show you this video in particular. Dharmini and I picked it because Swamiji recorded this video for Ananda members, Ananda community members, Ananda people in America. He was in Italy for those years, 1998. He moved there in 97, I think, or 96 or 97. And in 98 and 99, he was there basically the whole time and didn't come to America at all. In fact, I was to go to Ananda Village. I went to Ananda Village to meet him because he was coming for the 30th anniversary, 1998. The 50th anniversary was in 2019, but anyway, we'll talk about that. We'll explain that some other time. But 1998 was the 30th anniversary, and I hadn't met Swamiji in person, so I had heard he was coming from Italy to Ananda Village for that event, so I came to California, meaning that I was on the other side of the country, to meet him, but then he turned out he didn't come. He wasn't able to come. And I guess it wasn't the first, I guess we didn't see that video, but the first video of these, you saw one, him speaking of his discipleship anniversary a few weeks ago. The first video of these was the video he recorded to show at the 30th anniversary in place of his coming. And then he continued on that as long as I'm talking to you, why don't I share some more thoughts? So it was a way not of making it a public talk or an internet talk, but a talk just to all of us. And this was another one of those. And so it's nice to be able to hear from Swamiji with the sense that he's not speaking to the public, he's speaking to friends, he's speaking to members, people who are a part of this thing in a serious way. And of course that includes all of you. So just how natural he was, how relaxed he was. I was with him. Sometimes he had a hard time keeping his balance. Basically because of his diabetes, the lower parts of his legs were a bit numb, and so it could be easy for him to bang into something or trip over something and not feel it. The warning that we all get when we're walking in a dark room and hit something, oh wait, don't commit myself. He didn't always have that. So sometimes we would walk with him just in case, and he would put his arm in our arm. So I was walking with him in Los Angeles, and someone said to him, the public was basically, they were there for a public talk, and someone said to him, I wanted to know if you could say anything about Turiyananda. I mean, it always surprised me because here they have Kriyananda, but they want to ask about someone else. And again, you listen, any question anybody has, fine. It's from their heart, and it was up to Swamiji to answer. He said a few things, and then the person said, I'm surprised to find that you're so funny. And, you can think of any number of ways. Whenever people would say something to Swamiji, I mean, not whenever, but often I would, in my mind, sort of, I don't know if I would think of an answer, but I would maybe remember something he would say. You'd wonder how he would respond, like, well, or to say that Master said that laughter is helpful, as you've heard, perhaps Master said. It's good to laugh. It helps people. It relaxes people. But Swamiji answered that person. He said, Master was. Just that simple. It wasn't that when he came to Master he was, and then Master was funny, so then he, ha 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 ha, I will also be funny. It wasn't that he took that on, but rather it was part of him anyway. Like he said, communities, they were a part of him anyway, and they lined up with Master, and so Master encouraged that. As he said, he would not have started communities if it wasn't a vision of Master's. It might have been his own personal passion. But if it weren't for Master, he would have dropped it, because what does it matter? And so again, Swamiji's example, too, of discipleship in the ways I've just explained helped us all and helps us all. But finally, I have to say, and this is the part I also hope that you got from the video or the talk today, is just how we felt when listening to Swamiji. Not just his words and not just abadiya and sort of connecting this and that and our increase in our understanding and clarity, sure, but just that feeling. It's not even easy to put a word to it because I never really felt anything like it before I met him. And in some ways I feel it was the most important part, just that upliftment, that feeling that somehow I have never been with Master, but somehow I think I might know what it might feel like. Because of that being, Swamiji had a way of just embracing everybody in his aura, that he didn't embrace people physically, but that feeling of that you were included, you were a part of things, and that he was reaching out to share with you, and it was you. It wasn't just you all. And it was funny though, I think he mentioned, does he mention his eye surgery at the beginning of this one too? Yeah. He had this corrective surgery, as he said, it's not for cataracts, but it was he was so nearsighted. But he didn't he didn't like to speak with glasses on. He said he found it sort of got in the way. And an even funnier thing he commented on was that he could sing better with his glasses off. I mean, what does it have to do with singing? You don't wear glasses over your mouth. You would think with singing that's the principal instrument. And he would say, isn't that funny? That with glasses off I can sing better? But it just shows us there's something more going on when we share with each other. There's just more to it. We're really much more energy beings than we are physical. And so he after, when he came back to America after this talk, he said, before, when I gave talks, the audience was just sort of a blur. And he said, but now I can see everything and everyone, so watch out. So he was just joking, of course. But this, I forget now what my theme of the eye surgery was. Maybe it was just that. In any case, the way he made us feel, I just had never felt like that before. And it's really what drew me to him, what helped me to realize that he had something. I mean, I could infer, I could imagine, I could expect that of course he had something. I mean, you don't write 150 books just with nothing, and 400 pieces of music and more, and start these communities, and more than that, also the teachers that I met, they were so, and the different ones, not even teachers only, but people who had been with him for such a long time. As he said, they were very diverse in a way. Some people were very intellectual. I had come from a PhD program, and I was pleased to see that others had also been in a PhD program, and I didn't complete my PhD program, whereas they had. But still, I wanted to be in this, this has got to be, meaty. Because I was just so lopsided, so mental. And so that's fine. You find something that relates to where you are, just as he said. There were other people who just weren't that way at all. But everybody was high energy. In other words, not everybody was unbalanced in their overly intellectual the way I was, to just put it as it was. They weren't that, not everybody led with their brains, but everybody was alert. You see the difference? High energy makes you alert, brings clarity, even through intuition without all of this intellectual stuff. And to me that proved that the teaching worked. And to be with Swamiji, because I met many people before I met him. As I said, I came to Ananda Village in 1998, but he didn't come. So I met many others, and I had met others even for 2 years before that when they came to my side of the country. But when I met him, wow. Like I said, the moment he entered the room, and it was behind me, so I didn't see him enter the room, but I felt as if the doors had been blown off. And there was almost like there was an explosion. And what surprised me, it wasn't as if I saw him and went, sort of like some celebrity thing. It was just something I felt before I even saw. And so that for me was really the ultimate gift that Master gave us. The ultimate treasure of Ananda was Swamiji himself. That power that he radiated, that joy and love that he shares. Really, it was the secret ingredient of the special sauce, if you want to put it that way. And it continues. I'm not saying that's what we all had then and it was so great. Neither did Swamiji. You've heard him talk about Master. He doesn't say, well, when I was with him in 1949, wish you could have been there. It was fantastic. He includes us in that he says in such a way that we feel we were there. And he's wanting to share that vibration more and more, because it really is vibration that changes people. At the end of his life, he was saying, all the books I've written, all the music I've created, the communities I founded, what do they mean? They don't really amount to much. Because he was saying in the context of God and in the context of oneness with God. Obviously, they amounted to something. I mean, we feel that way because here we are. We're a part of them. Someone said that to me. If Swamiji is saying they don't amount to anything, is he depressed? It's sort of one word that did not apply to Swamiji was depressed. I said, no. He said, but he's saying all his work doesn't amount to anything. I said, I feel, and I wrote this to Swamiji afterwards, that if even one person's life was improved by anything Swamiji had done, he would consider it precious and valuable. Okay. I said, but Swamiji said, now the only thing I feel I can do is try to radiate the bliss that I feel to others. And if they can feel any of the bliss that I feel, then that's worth doing. Because again, his body was breaking down. He had a lot of physical karma with his body. Master had told him, death itself will be the last sacrifice you have to make. And Swamiji wondered, did that mean that he would be sacrificed, that he would be killed? Because it could mean that. Death itself will be the last sacrifice you have to make. He wasn't. And in fact, when he was giving an initiation, he said, Master said, death is the last sacrifice you'll have to make. And I don't know, does it mean martyrdom? And then he said, anyway, I'm all for it, if that's what's to happen. And then he said, but leave your guns outside. And he said, or at least wait until the end of the talk. But some of us wondered and suggested to Swamiji, and later he began to say it too, that maybe it meant that he had to sacrifice even death, that death was postponed for quite some time beyond even the capacity of his physical body, and that he had to go on perhaps longer than he would have liked. So who knows? As he said, if I can serve, if I can be of use, I'm happy to help people. So try to tune into that if you feel to. But again, take it from where you are. It's not a pose that, oh, yes, I feel the same way. Say how you feel. Feel how you feel. But again, just understand that if there's any way in which you feel you've been helped, it's come through Master, through God, but through Swamiji also. He has been the vehicle for us. And this was true, as I said, his way of clarifying the teachings was true from the very beginning, from the moment he came. Master said to someone, if Walter had come earlier, by now we would have reached millions. Isn't that funny? I mean, here Master is an avatar. I mean, it's not as if he was lacking power. I mean, Master could create another galaxy and populate the planets and then reach them. I mean, he could not only reach the people, he could create the people, so to speak. He could bring, anyway, it's a little metaphysical, but anyway, it's not that he needed help, or Swamiji was very skilled with Facebook, and so therefore Master needed him. It's not that. What he must have meant, I think, is that Swamiji also had that mission, that karma, as part of his fulfillment. And who knows why Master Swamiji didn't come sooner? I don't know that Master was saying, oh, Swamiji's late. If Swamiji had come sooner, then would any of us have met him? Sure, we all want to have been with Master. Sure, we all want to have been with Swamiji. But then what's the conclusion? Basically, we all descend from the astral world, have a party, and everybody goes home with a Meiserpock, and then we all ascend back to the astral world, and what's left? Who's left? Nobody. How is that helpful? It's sort of, you get that one window of years on Earth, and then, well, sorry you missed it. Try next yuga. So we need to have this sense of generations and continuity and so on. But Swamiji, when he came to Master, his way of clarifying the teachings, he did that for all his brother and sister disciples at the time. You look at the old magazines and they'll say Kriyananda spoke at Master's birthday and he talked about the ways in which we can appreciate Master on his birthday, or at that time it said Reverend Walters, because that was before Swamiji had the name Kriyanandaji. Master called him Walter. And also, Swamiji was the only one who gave Kriya initiation after Master's passing. There were many others who Master had authorized to give Kriya, but they wouldn't. They were too shy about it, and so they said, you do it. And so he was the only one. And finally, when it was time for the work was just too big, the needs for Kriya initiations was too much, then the people who were authorized, Swamiji trained them to give Kriya. And it's not as if they didn't have that opportunity themselves with Master, but they took their lead from him. And anyway, just to say that that is, as much as his reach was broad and to so many people who he directly worked with, and so many people beyond that who were a part of Ananda who might not have directly worked with Swamiji, and beyond that to the million members of people who are willing to receive what we have to offer, as Swamiji said. It was just each individual, each person also. And so, and he had that gift and that ability and that interest. And again, if someone were to say that to him, I think he would say, well, that's how Master was. You see, that he had said for many years, let thy thoughts be my thought. No, let my thoughts be thy thoughts, he was saying to Master in his meditation. I don't want a thought that isn't yours. And then later he added, I realize that's not enough. I don't want to have a feeling that's not from Master. And near the end of his life he said, now I don't know where Yogananda ends and Kriyananda begins. And so, and it really felt that way to be with him then, and it feels that way to be with him now, and I hope that that you feel that as well. But in any case, I want to thank you all for coming and honoring him on his birthday in this way.